Well, hello everybody, welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Peter Drakulic, and in this second part of our how to model a helmet, a football helmet tutorial series, I'm going to continue with modeling the inner part of the inner side, if you prefer, of our helmet, just by using the geometry we have already created for the outside part of our helmet. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, the first thing I need to do is to select all the vertices, okay, and Shift D, duplicate them, alright? Right click to cancel. Now I need to press Alt S and scale them down a little bit along their normals, just a tiny little bit, okay. Now we have created this inner side very easily. Of course, you could tell me that I could use the modifier, solidify modifier, but I find that this way of doing the same thing is much more easier for me to work with. So now next thing we need to do is to select all the loops that are around the border, okay, that loop over there, that loop, and also the interior, the inner side loops that are around the border, okay. So Shift right clicking, Alt right clicking and selecting those loops. And now, if you haven't done already, go to the file, user preferences, and go down there where it says add-on section, first of all, and go down there to the mesh, okay, button, click on that and select mesh loop tools. Check that and close the window. Now we have enabled the mesh loop tools, and we can call them by those tools by hitting W, loop tools, and from the pop-up menu select bridge. So now actually we have bridged, we have connected the outer side of the helmet and the inner side of the helmet, as you can see. Alright, and we need to do the same here for those two loops over here, and so W, loop tools, and bridge them. Okay. Now, if I try out a render, you can see that if I press F12 render, you can see that my helmet is okay, but okay looking, but it lacks some sharpness here, some definition, things like that. So let's go ahead and add some more sharpness here, if you prefer. So the way for doing so when working with Subdivision surface modifier is by adding some extra loop cuts, and so controlling the amount of sharpness around the corners, if you prefer. So I'm going to click Ctrl R and I'm adding some loop cuts. One is that loop cut here, right? Another one is that down here. Alright, so I'm adding that loop cut, and of course for this part I'm adding this loop cut as well. Well, now I could go ahead and continue with adding some loop cuts also for those, you know, for this opening here, okay. And now if I try out a render, you can see that my helmet looks much more, you know, well defined, if you prefer. Of course, you can, if you want, you can select those edge loops that are around the corners, right, and you can just go ahead and hit Shift E and adjust interactively the sharpness of those loops there. So let me select first the loops, the right loops, and then hitting Shift E. By hitting Shift E, you can see I can interactively control the sharpness of my edges, and also I'm repeating that for this loop as well. Alright, so I want to select this loop here and Shift E, adjust the sharpness, okay, of that loop. Okay, and the same goes for this loop over here. Shift E, excuse me, and I'm controlling the sharpness here as well. Let me Shift E. Alright, so let me now try out another render. For you to see the difference, you can see that now my edges are sharp, but we might not want them for them to be super sharp, you know. Okay, so we have to be, we have to select which edges we want to be sharper than others, so you can see that actively I can adjust this. All right, it's the way to go for hard surface modeling if you prefer. Okay, now next thing I want to do is to add some more detail. Let's say I want to add a protrusion over here to my helmet. So why not? I can add yet another loop cut here, and then I will slide the vertices by hitting Shift V, and I'm going to be creating a nice, shape here. Okay, and that depends, of course, upon the particular helmet, the different, protrusions that the helmet might have. All right, but you get the general idea. So now I want to make a protrusion. Okay, so face, I'm selecting those faces here, this one as well, and let's say that my protrusion ends somewhere here. All right, so I'm extruding them. All right, and I'm clicking Alt S to actually make them, to scale them along their normals. So as you can see here, I have something like so, and now I could go and add some contrast here, some more sharpness, either by adding some loops, which is the normal way to do it, or I could, in order for me not to add more geometry, I could select those edges here, right, and I could mark them as sharp, or even better, I could work with the Shift E. Okay, Shift E is the shortcut for the edge creasiness. You can find the same shortcut, the same function here, mean crease, all right, and mean bevel weight as well. Okay, here mean crease. So by adjusting that, you can adjust the sharpness, of those edges there. And of course, I want to do the same thing for that edge over here. All right. Okay. So now, if I go ahead and try out to render, you can see that I have something like that. Okay. So now, of course, you might want this to be lower or things like that. I mean, that part over here. Let me show you. You might want this to have a different shape. It's up to you to decide. So now, I could, for example, tab edit mode, and I want to move this a little bit so it gradually, fades out, right? And of course, I could add some creasiness here as well. All right. So I could do something like so. Of course, I have also this edge loop, which I can crease. I can also, add some sharpness to it. So I have 12 now, and I have something much more well defined. And you don't need to go super sharp. Okay, you just need to show this protrusion, and in the real world, the most of those corners here, they are not super sharp, and it's good to stay with a sharpness like this without adding loop cuts if you don't really need them. But if you do, you want to just go ahead and add some loop cuts for extra, definition. All right, but don't overdo with all those loop cuts. Okay, just in that case there that you need them. Okay, so we have now something like that, which I find it's not a bad looking helmet. Right, now I want to do the same, perhaps here. Right, so I could possibly select those faces here, and you could either protrude them or intrude them. So extrude them, scale them, either like that or like so. Okay, that could be an interesting variation. actually, of the helmet. And you can always go ahead and add definition to the edges here by clicking Shift T, excuse me, and by just doing the same thing that we did before until you get the result you're going for. Okay, that's just a suggestion. You don't have to, your helmet doesn't have to be exactly the same. You can just, let me, another thing I want to show you. If you feel like a lot of lines here, you can go to the Subdivision surface modifier and select optimal display, right, which is very helpful, really, sometimes. All right, and just select the edge you want to sharpen, and just sharpen that edge over there. Okay, again, you can also select this option over here to uncheck the limit selecting to visible, so you can select some more difficult edges, Shift T to sharpen them as well, and you get the meaning. That's how you can add some more definition to your helmet. All right, and I need to now select that loop over here, perhaps this one, Shift A, add some more definition. Okay. Okay, so we have something like so. Of course, at a certain moment you're going to need a loop cut. Right, but be careful with adding too much loop cuts. Okay, so the less you add, the better. Okay, because they add up a lot to the geometry of your helmet. And also another downside with the loop cuts is that they create really some unwanted geometry in some cases, like here, for example. I don't want this sharp here look, so I need to select the edges, Control S, and slide the edges, edge slide, so I can actually, control the sharpness at this part of my helmet. Okay, so again, the less loop cuts you use, the better for the for the geometry. I mean, for the amount of polygons. Okay, perhaps. And always you can select the face, and you having switched over to the normal coordinate system by hitting Alt spacebar. Okay, you can play around with the protrusion, all right, or the shape of your intrusion of protrusion, whatever, of your helmet. So let's try it out. All right, as you can see, our helmet now looks a lot nicer. So that completes our tutorial for today, I guess. We have added some more geometry. We have made some basic inner part, and we have added some detail here with some protrusions. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you learned something from this. If you like this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time with the part 3 of this tutorial series, in which probably we are going to be adding some more detail and perhaps some textures or some materials to our helmet. And then have fun and goodbye.